I was always a diehard fan of the mystery dungeon type strategy games, so when I learned about Evertried, I was immediately hooked. Especially because I've heard that this game is relative to games like Crypt of the Necrodancer and Cadence of Hyrule. Published by Dangon Entertainment and developed by the Brazilian team of Lunic Games and Danilo Domingues, Evertried is finally here. A game that mixes turn-based strategy, roguelike, and a checkers-type tabletop game. That for me seemed like a great journey into Dante's Inferno. So, the fact is that Evertried presents its roguelike style of turn-based combat within a simple narrative, in which we play a warrior who ended up in a limbo after dying, and who now must go through a series of confrontations if he wants to win. A space in the afterlife. There are days when I want to shoot everything that crosses the screen, and there are others when I like to relax and think about strategy to follow. For this, turn-based strategy games such as XCOM or Gears Tactics are ideal. Evertried takes a lot of the genre but simplifies it, so as not to get stressed out or distracted by the surroundings. In this title, death lands us between heaven and hell. As mentioned, our protagonist is a soul who should have entered heaven to be praised for his prowess on earth, as we soon find out, but without memories of our past, we are forced to climb the tower, like a kind of reverse Dante's Inferno, as a pilgrimage to discover what happened to us and why we are arrived there. The creator of the tower promises to give us all the answers if we fight through each of the levels of the tower. On the other hand, if we perish, we will have to start all over again, as there is no escape. Our protagonist wears a mask that resembles a doe or a deer, that is, in my opinion, is a nice touch, as it is not super aggressive. Hence, the player can feel that these series of levels act as a sort of initiation to the afterlife. Undoubtedly, the strength of Evertried is its presentation. At a visual level, this game has a very beautiful, detailed pixel art style, a very interesting and varied roster of enemy design, in contrast to the simplistic level design that will vary primarily in its colors and floor decoration and serves as an indicative to the biomes we're in. So, what is the objective of the game? Kill all the enemies on the screen and go to the afterlife. Like other turn-based strategy games, we take our actions first and the opponent does the same. The important thing is to focus and think about placement, because if we end up next to a monster or in its way, we will lose. To achieve this, it's not enough to utilize the simple mechanics at our disposal, but we will also need a strategic approach and above all, experience, knowing our enemies well. As I already mentioned, we're looking at a turn-based combat system that will only allow our adversaries to carry out actions such as attack or movement once we've done the same. This mechanic will allow us time to think carefully about each of our actions, especially once we get more familiar with our adversaries, since they have a good variety of attacks. Evertried has 50 floors divided into 5 zones. Each scenario is structured as a 7x7 grid, within which we can move 1 square at a time, or even 2 if we use the dash button. This playfield is also sprinkled with various types of traps, crumbling tiles, wells or frozen areas, which we can learn to use in our favor, or ignore them to our own peril. Between each of the levels, like in other roguelike titles, we'll meet a merchant that supplies temporary improvements. To buy from the merchant, we use the shards or diamonds that we collect by killing enemies. The merchant can also restore our life for a price, obviously. He can also sell us passive and active skills. Passives gives us certain improvements, such as marking a random enemy at the beginning of each floor to cause double damage, stunning an enemy when hitting them, or leaving a trail of fire when moving. These will offer fundamental help to survive challenges. The active ones, on the other hand, will allow us to execute a series of skills that have a limited range of effectiveness, such as firing a damaging beam, pushing an enemy, creating a copy of ourselves that attracts enemies, or even throwing a hook that pulls us towards enemies. This is undoubtedly a gem with a longevity that will vary greatly from player to player. But at the end of the day, everything boils down to how skillful the player is with regards to the genre, or how willing they are to learn. Without extra or cooperative modes to exploit, everything will depend on how much the player will enjoy the formula of repeating over and over again the path that the title proposes, dying 4000 times in the process. When it comes to the music, the Evertried dev team approached Moonsailor, a video game music and audio studio. They were immediately hooked by the game and agreed to do the soundtracks. And let me tell you, they have done a terrific job. The main music is somewhat melodic with a touch of an exotic vibe in the harmony and instrumentation. And this is the kind of music that accompanies a game perfectly. And I must admit, I rarely sit through credits, but the music that plays during the credits is spot on. So all in all, now I'm constantly listening to the music even after finishing the game. Overall, Evertried is undoubtedly a fairly entertaining game, which, while unlikely to grab the attention of those not already in the favor of the roguelike or turn-based tactics genre, but will surely offer lovers of these an experience that at very least allows them to kill time. It is definitely not a game for everyone, but I would still recommend you give it a chance if you saw anything that caught your attention. Although I have died more times than Kenny in South Park, I know it would have been a pity missing out on it. Thank you very much for watching. Give it a like if you enjoyed your time, and if you like this video at least 0.1%, you should definitely subscribe to us for more content like this. As always, the links to the game and the devs are in the description with our socials as well. And I'd like to thank for the Indie Game Collective for the opportunity to review this game. Until next time, Escape Pod out.